Hello, it's Beverly here over at Crafty and Chaos with another video for you, and this time it's my Halloween Scarefest series. It's going to be, I think, done in 4 parts. The first part will be showing you how to make the card and some of the embellishments, and then we'll have a short section after this on each of the 3 characters that I've created. So we've got a Frankenstein Monster, a Dracula and a witch head, and we've got a witch's boot shaped card and some bats and also some text that I found a font on the font, and I will explain how that works later. So this is the file we're aiming for. We're going to make the, just let me move the boot if you will. So it's the boot that when the bats and the writing that we're actually looking for, and we're going to do the rest in another tutorial. So, and the base card obviously. So let's get started and I'll show you how we did this. Right, so first of all I'm going to start a new project, but before I do that I'll show you where I got the boot from, because it's actually a card that's already partly done, a gift box decoration in canvas, and this was the basic shape that I used to make the boot. So I put it onto my mat and then I went in there to edit the boot. Okay, so I'll just bring on excuse me, the project that I've made so that you can see how it came about. So I'll put that to one side, so that's the kind of thing we're following, and that's the shape we're looking for. So that's the shape it came in as, and you can see that's where we are. So what I actually did was, first of all, I created an offset line. So I went edit, create an offset line, and I made it 0.04 inches and outward, and then said OK. That will give us the outline of the boot as a solid piece. Now I'm just going to delete the rest from my mat, and that's sort of well on the way to getting to that stage. So the next thing I did was, I'm just going to make it a slightly better colour for us to see on the screen, and I'm going to make it grey so we can see what's happening. Then I'm going to select some basic shape, and it's this really sort of isosceles triangle that I used, and I made it really thin. I put it so that I could divide where the heels would be, and selected both that wedge and the boots, and then, just before I did that, I actually made a copy of it, so I'll just duplicate that now. So we've got that duplicate for later. So then I'm going to centre them on the vertical axis. Okay, when we've done that, I'm going to select them and I'm going to edit and subtract, and that's just separated it there. So then I'm going to bring on the shape again. I'm going to make it slimmer. I'm going to edit and flip it on the horizontal axis, and this time we're going to make a split towards the top so it looks more like a card. Okay, so I'm going to select both, line them up on the centrally on the vertical axis, and edit, subtract, and then we've got that little kink in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is create a fold line down this side. So I'm going to use the node editing tool, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing, so that you can see what's happening. I'm going to make sure I've got the node editing tool selected, and when you hover over where that dip is there, the vertices if you will, or the corner, whichever you want to call it, if I hold my shift key down and click and drag down to the next one where it comes to the centre and double click to anchor, that will make me a nice perforated line when I make it a cutting line and a perforating line. So I'm going to click off. I'm going to now view fit to mat so you can see what I'm doing, and then I'm going to select both the perforated line and the boots, edit and group. So that means now I can move that file independently from this one. So what we're going to do now to make sure that we've got the right size matting layer, we're going to select both of our card and our matting layer, making sure we don't select anything else on the mat, and we're going to centralise them vertically and horizontally, so one shape is sitting on top of the other. We're then going to group them, and we're going to change the size from 7 to 11 with the maintain aspect ratio button unchecked. Hit the enter key to say OK, and that's resized those for us. I'm then going to go on edit and ungroup. I'm going to click on the page and drag my working card with the score line to one side, and we're just going to deal with this one. Now we want the shape to be the same height, but we need it to be half the width, so we're going to leave it at 7 and make this one 5.5 and say OK. Sorry, edit undo. We need a square to do that first, so we're going to make it, if we make it exactly the same size as the shape, which was 7 by 11, okay, and then like I say, it's the same as shape size as the one underneath, and what we need to do is make that 5.5 because we want to be half the width, but the depth, this bit needs to stay at 7, and then we're going to say OK. Okay, so now that shape should be exactly half of that one, so what we're going to do is line it up to the right and also to the top. Okay, making sure the rectangle's on top. We're just going to stretch it just a little bit longer, but not any wider. And again, I'm going to centralise it, to make it to the right, and then we know that that's exactly halfway between. So I'm going to select both shapes and edit, process the overlap, and remove the overlap. So now we've got half of our boot, and I'm going to bring the main one on. So this is our card, this is how we're looking, but at the moment that's in the wrong orientation, so we need to edit and flip on the horizontal axes. Okay, now so that's how we're looking, and the only thing I did now, and I'm just going to show you this one on this piece because that's it for the base card, we can leave that to one side and concentrate on our matting layer. What I did, because it looked a bit clunky and not quite as flared out at the top, is I clicked on it just to expose the nodes, and using this node at the top, I just moved it out a little just to give it that sort of more of a flared out shape, and I did the same thing at the heel just to give it a little bit more dimension. Now you can do that or choose not to do that, it's entirely up to you, but that's what I did. So there's my boot, and that will obviously then fit on top of the other card. I'm just going to make it a different colour, just scooch it in so you can see, and that's how we're looking. So we've got our boot that's going to mat onto it pretty well, but we're going to get a little bit more shape without showing any of our workings. So I'm going to move the base card off to the side, and next we're going to work on the bat. And to make the bat, what I did is I went on a website called Pixabay. I've told you about this one in tutorials before. It's a site where you can get free images, royalty-free images for personal use. Some of them you can even use professionally. You make your own free account, and then you can type and see if you can find what you're looking for. And what I did was typed bat silhouette. Oops. And I selected this one because I thought that was a nice shape and downloaded it. And I also selected this one and downloaded it. And I've already downloaded them, but I will just go through the process for one. So once you've had now this one is free for commercial use as well, so this one's okay for you to use in any project. So I'm going to download it by hitting the free, and you can pick what you're going to save in. We're only going to trace it, so I only need a very simple one. Then you'd hit download, and that would go into your downloads folder. Okay, or in my case I can select where I want it to go, and I put it in my photos so I'd know where it was, but I suggest yours would probably go to your downloads folder. So then I'm going to go back to Canvas Workspace. I'm going to close that for a minute and click off that, and I'm just going to zoom in a little, not quite so much because you can't really see anything then, about 75%, so we can see what's going on with this boot. So I'm going to move it down a little to make way for my images. Now remember, it's a image file, a PNG or an SVG, so we need to trace it. So I'm going to go on this leaf one, which is the trace icon, select choose file, go where I put it and select the file and click open. I'm going to move the colours down to 2, keep it on outline and do a preview. And what we're looking for is a nice turquoise line going right round the shape, and that's a nice trace. So I'm going to say OK. Do I want the image on my desktop? No, I don't, so I'm just going to say no to that, and that's going to import the back for us, and we'll make it black so it shows up well on the screen. And then I'm going to resize it, and that was one of the embellishments that we used on the card. And if we just go over here, you can see here are the backs. And then for the second one, I'll just run you through the process again. Go to the leaf icon, which is trace, image tracing, and choose file. And then I'm going to select my next image, which was this one. Say open. That will bring up that. It's still on outline, still on -2, preview. Again, we're looking for that turquoise line around the shape, and that's given us a good trace. So I can say OK. No, I don't need the image, I just want the traced image. Again, I'm going to make it black by clicking on it and choosing black or a dark grey, whichever you prefer, just for the screen purposes. And that can be resized in any size as you wish. I'm going to duplicate it because I had 3 bats on there, and I arranged them on the boot according to whichever image I decided to use. So that's where we're at that point. Okay, so the next thing that I was going to show you for the last part of this tutorial was how to get the writing in, which is what we're going to do next. And I used this dripping font text, which I intend to get my computer to draw on, although you could get it to cut it out and stick it on. You just have to be careful about the size you make it, so you don't make it too small that your scan and cut can't handle it, because it's too small of a turning circle, if you will. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to go onto another website called The Font, and this is my preferred place for finding fonts. And what I did is went on, and just to get an idea how I found it, I just typed in the search box Halloween, and that will bring up any fonts related to Halloween. And I chose Scary Halloween for my project, and I click download, and that will come up with it downloaded in my downloads. And for a Mac, you double click it, and then you would double click the TTF file and then click install font. But I've already got it installed on my computer, so I'm not going to install it again. So I'm just going to close that down, and I'm going to now go to the software, which is the Brother Scan and Cut Type Converter. I'm still having to use this because I haven't got a PC, I'm working on a Mac, and the downloadable software at the moment is still only available for PC users. So I'm going to type my greeting, which was Scarefest, like so. I can preview it, that's what it's going to look like. So a dripping image, say close, and I'm going to save it. So click save, again, give it a name, call it Fest, and hit save. And that will download it to your computer. So once you've got that, you go back to your workspace, and I suggest that you save your work regularly. Give it some title, something like Boot, and save it. And say OK. And then we're going to go to import SVG, because we need to import an Fcm file, which is the one we've just created. I'm going to choose the file by going into my Fcm files and choosing Fest, and then say OK, and that's going to bring it in. And I'm going to make it red, seems a good colour for dripping blood, and I've shaded it in. Now you can see where the holes are, and I'm going to just zoom right in for this so you can really see what's going on. That hole there, if we leave that there when we try to draw it, it's going to draw that filled in as well. So what we need to do is deal with those holes by clicking on the letters and hitting subtract. So you do that on each letter, subtract and subtract. and subtract. So I'm just clicking on the letter and hitting subtract, and subtract even the ones that haven't got anything obvious. I'm doing it just to be safe. I'm going to hit that one and say subtract, and I don't think I need to bother with that one. Okay, now looking at it looks okay, apart from possibly this R, and I'm going to zoom right in on that just so we can have a look, because when we come to try to cut that or draw it, and it tries to like eliminate it in some way, it could cause an issue. So all I'm going to do is just eliminate it completely. So I'm going to click on my selection tool, double click to expose the nodes, and I'm going to zoom right in. I need to be further in than that. So I'm going to get my zoom tool and zoom right in, and then I'm going to go on my selection tool, double click to expose the nodes, and then just drag a box around the ones that you want to eliminate. So just those, they'll all turn turquoise, and then you hit this minus button here, minus the nodes, and that's taken that out. And then I'll just go view and fit to mat so you can see where we're at. So that's our text completed. All I did then was selected just the letters and grouped them, and then I resized them so that they're going to fit on the boot, and then I ungrouped them so that then I could group each of the words individually, edit, group, and edit, group, and then we can move our greeting wherever you want. I think this could make a really fun Halloween card for people that are celebrating Halloween this year, or even for invitations if you're having a Halloween party, or if somebody has a birthday. I know my stepfather had his birthday was on Halloween, so this would have been very fitting for him. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. But again, like I say, very useful. So that's the first part. In the second part, I intend... Oops, let me just show you the parts. So in the second part, like I said, I'm going to in the next parts I'm going to show you how to make the Frankenstein, how to make the witch, and how to make the Dracula, Count Dracula. Right, okay, so that's it for this tutorial. We'll just fit to mat and then we can see where we're at. So this is what we've made, the boot, the base card that's going to sit on with the score line, and also some embellishments for our card. So some bats, I've showed you how to trace them and how to import a font and add that into your Scan and Cut Canvas workspace software and make it so that you can either draw it. Oh, the one last thing I needed to mention about this text just before we go is once we've got that, if I'm definitely making it a drawing line, which I think I am, I'm going to make it drawing line, and also making sure that this fill the area in the outline with the drawing function is checked. That way then we know that we're going to get that. You could leave it as a cutting and drawing line, it's entirely up to you, but that's where we're at. And then that we can either choose to cut, but if we choose to draw, it will fill those letters in for us and not just draw around the outlines. So you'll get that nice dripping effect and coloured in whatever colour you've actually decided. Okay, I'm sorry I'm a little bit croaky today. I've actually been quite unwell this last couple of days. I've had a really upset stomach and it's left me with a bit of a sore throat. I was hoping to get into my craft room today and do some assembling of cards, but unfortunately I've not felt up to doing that, so I just thought I'd work on my computer for today and just do an hour or so just to give you something to be looking at over the weekend, and I'll get on to the witch, Dracula and the Frankenstein Monster in due course. So the idea is that you're gonna, if I just group it just temporarily, edit and group, and if you bring it on you can fit it on your card where you like, and you can choose whichever image, and I just think it's a nice, not too scary but in the right sort of genre for a Halloween, for a nice Halloween card. Alright, so thanks for watching. Again, I do share my files that I make in Canvas on my blog at beverly10blogspot.com. No, Beverly10blogspot, and it's Beverleigh, not the usual spelling of Beverly. But over there you can download all my files that I've created for free use. Alright, that's it for now. Please like, share and subscribe. As I keep saying, it's important that you give me that thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video, because it is helping to grow the channel, and it's really, really humbling that people are actually tuning in to watch. So I'll see you all soon, and thanks for watching. Bye.